Peace world, what's good? It's Wyking once again here for another episode at Black Dot Studios, Africatown Media Network. So our special guest today, we got two special guests in the building today. One, CD native, Garfield grad, mompreneur, serial entrepreneur, and investor, and current owner of Something Different Accounting, and financial empowerment evangelist, and then we have the young next generation of entrepreneurs, young investor, Chance, So welcome, Carnisha and Chance.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is exciting, man. I'm really inspired by what I've been hearing about, the work that y'all have been doing together. The mother and son team out here making it happen. They say family can't do business together, but this is, again, dispelling that myth.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is the best business partner I've ever had.
Excellent. And so for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about your journey to this point.
Well, our investment journey, I've always been interested in investing since middle school, was exposed to it in a class that presented stock trading in a way that was fun and a game, so it made it very relatable. And that's when my interest sparked. How I started this journey with Chance, ever since he was very young, about 4 years old, when you ask a child what would they like to be when they grow up, he's always said that he wanted to be a hotel owner. So, of course, I was blown away by that, when most children strive to be, pretty much what they see.
Right.
So that was pretty out of the box. And, it continued on for many, many years. And so a few years ago, he, again, expressed that interest. And so we decided to have a conversation about what that looks like to actually take that dream and make it a reality. And so we looked at what different prices of land would be if you were to develop your own hotel. And so what started off with just a lesson on teaching him and exploring how different prices are affected by where you're at became our first investment into real estate together, which we purchased a piece of land for less than $1,000 in the state of Ohio. And so that lesson, and that's how our real estate and our investing just grew.
So Chance, as the co-partner in this investment, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself? Like, how old are you, what grade you're in, what school you go to,
Well, I am 11 years old, turning 12 in March. On the 13th, and I am in the 6th grade, going to the 7th, and I actually get homeschooled this year.
Excellent.
So I don't go to school.
Okay, so you're getting that on-the-job training. I was wondering how you learn in real estate investment, at such a young age. So, Carnisha, I imagine that, you've had, various endeavors along the way to this point. What have been some of your previous ventures, challenges and lessons as a serial entrepreneur?
Well, I would say that the biggest lesson that I learned in my journey, I've had, fairly successful businesses, with Something Different being accounting being my most successful. And so what I learned through this journey was that a lot of times we get into business and for the sake of being in business, and you can break even, but what you really want to strive for is a very maximum return on your profits. And so with that lesson, I had to restructure and decide that some businesses took a lot of my time and energy but weren't yielding much profit. And so the goal is to find businesses where you're not putting in a lot of time and energy, and instead you're yielding substantial profits. So definitely that's been the biggest lesson, is that all of my business ideas, although they were good business ideas, they weren't always the most profitable.
Right. Well, that's definitely a word to the wise right there.
Absolutely.
Chance, at your age, most young boys are more focused on video games and, sports and you're into investment, man. how did you get involved in investment, and what do you like about it?
Well, I love to help the community, so that's one reason why I chose this. And, well, thanks to my mom, she introduced me into this. So, yeah.
And what are some things that you've learned about investing so far?
Well, I learned that you could lose and you could win. And you just have to trust in yourself.
Wow, and what kind of investments are you currently involved in?
Well, I am currently involved in stock and real estate. So stock, it works to where you could lose a lot and you could also win a lot. But stock, I really just did that for fun. I wasn't really expecting, to do that well, but it just came out there and
It's doing pretty good.
yes.
Oh, okay, and what stock? What stock are you invested in, and how did you even choose that particular stock?
Well, I'm invested in Tencent because, like you said, a lot of kids focused on video games and sports. I like video games myself, so I looked up what video game or what company my favorite game is in,
Okay.
and I researched on it, and I found Tencent.
And what game is it? What game is that?
It's Fortnite,
Oh, okay.
and it has a couple other games too.
Yeah. So you had to do some research to find that out, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the real estate side, I mean, tell us a little bit about your journey, your thoughts, and what you think about real estate investing.
Well, real estate investing is more safe than stock, 100%. And well, you just got to find a good neighborhood. You just got to find a good house. You just got to just find those two things. And then you take that and you fix everything, and you just got to trust yourself. Trust your instincts, and you'll be good.
And so, are you a flipper or a buy and hold? What's your strategy?
Well, we are going to part live in it and part rent it. So while we're here in Seattle, we would rent it, and then while we're there, we would stay there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we would carry on into other places.
Wow, man, you are advanced with your strategies for a sixth grader. Carnisha, I know you're passionate about education issues, and it seems like you have taken the education of yours into your own hands. Seattle
Yes.
Public School has recently been identified another year as one of the worst in the country, particularly
Yes.
for black males. So what is your journey? Does this speak to the journey that you've had in your education strategy?
Yeah, education of my children is extremely important to me, and it's probably been the reason why I went into business in the first place, was to allow for some flexibility and more control over my earning potential and my time, so obviously the schools, I wasn't happy. We've been through a few school districts here in Washington. So Seattle School District is not the only one that is failing our youth. So what I was able to do in this point in time, due to the fact that I have my own business, is to really take hold of the education of my child in every aspect of it. I felt like the schools are not doing enough to prepare our kids for the future. And I have the unique opportunity where I can teach my son the things that I feel are important for him to know, and also really hone in on the skills that he has in a way that probably wouldn't, be tapped into in traditional schooling. So this has been a wonderful opportunity for me, and my own business has allowed that, and investment will allow me to do even more and maybe expand past just my own child into other children, because if you have income coming in that is making money for you even when you're not working. It allows you to do a lot more with your time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're a CD native. It's a lot of change that has taken place in the Central District. Can you speak a little bit about your experiences growing up in the community, how things have changed, and how that's impacted you?
Yes, what I remember a lot about the Central area when I was growing up, from my own family to the folks around, was that there were businesses. They were owned by us, delivering services. We owned real estate. And what seemed to happen as generations went on is that investment didn't continue, whether the knowledge didn't pass along or the actual assets didn't pass along, but we didn't keep that investment opportunity going. But we are in a unique position with this generation, is that we have this ability to create something out of nothing. We are the independent generation, and we can think outside of the box, and we just need to focus more on investing in ourselves, our own families, and within our community, and using that as a tool in order to continue to advance us along. So the CD is not the same as what it was, but I feel like the heart and the principles can live on no matter where you're at within you. So
yeah, and our work is with Africatown is a lot around preserving something, but then making way for a future. Do you have any thoughts on that work and projects like Liberty Bank and so on and so forth?
I'm super excited and proud, obviously, of everything that is happening, what Africatown is doing for the community and to support us. What I have had. I'm proud of everything that is happening, but what has had the most impact on me is the business tools that Africatown is presenting to allow people to become, more self-sufficient and keep passing that on. So what I'd like to see us do is to pass on our knowledge. We have a lot of people in our community that have created their own businesses, have a lot of different skill set that I would like to see passed on to the younger generation. You have some hungry children out here. With just presenting it to them, I don't have to stress with my son for him to learn these things and to expose him to these things. He's interested. All I have to do is continue to feed.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, they're sponges.
They're sponges.
What is being presented for them to soak up is really, what we need to be looking at and be, take responsibility for, right? There were some stats that came out recently about Seattle. A lot of times there's an image of Seattle as being this inclusive place where everybody is, winning. But then when you look at the numbers, such as these, recent stats that came out around the median household income of blacks being 42,500, which is not even half of whites, which is 105,000.
Right.
What are your thoughts? And then there's another article that came out from a national study about automation and taking jobs, and those that'll be most impacted will be black men. So what are your thoughts on that? As a mother of a son who will be a black man, what are your thoughts on just?
Well, I think that I have a few thoughts on that. When it comes to my own child, I feel like exposure is key. He will live in a world where he is never limited in what he can do. His mind will not even focus on limitations ever. Anything is possible to him. He's been exposed young to think that way. And so therefore, I'm not as worried about him as maybe I would be if he didn't have the exposure. But the way that his mind works is that he probably will never work for anyone else. Instead, he will be an owner and he will create jobs for other people. I have no doubt in that. So when it comes to automation, yes, technology changes things, but I come from the era where I was first introduced to technology. And so for me, I have never seen technology as a negative. What I see that as an opportunity to retrain. There's a lot of unfilled positions throughout numerous industries. And so we need to focus on training ourselves, training those around us to fill those positions, because there will be automation, but there will still be people needed for all different types of careers. And so our focus needs to be heavily on training and education.
That sounds like a appropriate response. A lot of times, if we're not paying attention to the trends of where we're going, we may be preparing, our young people for a world that won't exist.
Exactly.
Right. And so I appreciate the model and the example that you're laying down about taking control and designing a path to the future.
Absolutely.
That will be one that is prosperous for for the next generation. What does the future look like, for you? I mean, you've been a serial entrepreneur. Are you looking ahead at, other ventures, or, what's your aspiration and vision for the future?
Well, for me personally, it's going to be following the model of having multiple sources of income, multiple revenue streams. And with that, I'm heavily invested in real estate, and also looking outside of the Seattle market. This market is extremely expensive, so you need to be adventurous in being willing to venture out of what your comfort zone is. So we've invested in another state. We've been to that state and visited numerous times. We did a lot of research from what we can from here. We've talked to people. We're following various groups online, and we're following where the larger companies are going. We're following Amazon. We're following where Boeing is laying down roots in other places. They're not doing that for no reason. And so we have access to that. We're following the strategic plan for the cities of various areas, Illinois, Chicago, places that are maybe portrayed in the media as, a dangerous place, or a place not worth being a part of. Instead, we look at that as opportunity. We see nothing but opportunity. So we're following the new technology, the new trends, who's involved in AI, who's involved in virtual reality, so we're following those trends. I feel like we oftentimes will get stuck, and we are unwilling to continue to retrain ourselves and retrain our own minds and our own thinking. And I'm a lifelong learner, so I don't ever want to get stuck. Businesses do not fail because the world changed. It failed because they were unwilling to change with the world.
That's a gem, and that takes us right into our, dropping gem segment, So what are 3 steps? You spoke about, diversifying income streams, and I know you're, a big advocate of that. What are 3 tips you have for folks seeking to diversify their income streams?
I would say definitely do your research. I like to invest in things that I believe in. So I'm going to invest in cities and states where I would be willing to live, in neighborhoods where I could see myself living, in schools where I could see my child attending. I invest in products. I follow the news. I follow what's going on in the world. I would say that one of our biggest hurdles to overcome is fear. So align yourself with people who are doing the things that you can see yourself doing. Don't be afraid to look for mentors and other people to tap into. And then I would say just get out there and do something. You don't need to wait until you save $20,000. You can invest with $5. Like I said, we became our outside of the state investors with less than $1,000. So, just get out there and put yourself out there to try something.
Excellent. And for people that might be looking at real estate investment from outside of the market where they live, what would be your specific insights to them?
So what I look at, again, is the strategic plan for the city. I'm looking for cities that are hidden jewels, like what the Central District used to be for us here in Washington State, to hopefully be a part of that upward changing of the neighborhood. So oftentimes I will read the plan for the city, what the investment is looking like, what the city has planned for neighborhoods. That often tells you where to buy. You know, their plans could be 10 years away from now, you know. So looking into that and just doing research and talking to people. You know, oftentimes, you know, people are so generous with their information. They'll give you a lot of insight into what's going on in that area. And don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money to take a trip. You know, you're going on vacation, you could skip Disneyland this year and maybe hit up Kansas City if that's a place that you're interested in.
Wow, yes. Definitely jewels being dropped. Chance, we want to ask you to speak to the younger generation. What would be your tips for young people like yourself getting into investment?
I would say just believe in yourself. It doesn't matter if other people don't believe in you. As long as you believe in you, you can do anything.
All right. Carnisha, what are 3 books that have put light on your path or profoundly impacted the way that you move in the world?
I would say 21st Century Wealth. That is a book that I oftentimes will read. My grandmother gave it to me. She was an avid reader, so she always shared books with us. Think and Grow Rich. That is a very, very, very old book, written, I think, in like the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm oftentimes you'll be surprised where you get your information from. I was explaining this to Chance. We were at lunch. Newspaper. I picked up the newspaper. They were talking about Spokane being the next up and coming city. So you are not limited to certain books to read. You are not limited to certain folks to follow or any of that. Your information and your next tip can come from anything. You just have to be willing and able to think outside of the box.
Excellent. In real time, who are some of your current inspirations, models whose footprints kind of provide some guidance for you?
I will say that I had the unique pleasure, just as Chance did, which is to have my family full of entrepreneurs. So I was able to see people creating their own way. And so when you are exposed to that sort of thing, then your mind just can think of anything. You're not with a ceiling around you or a box around you. You can think outside. I'm following folks that are doing things within the cities that I'm interested in. So Detroit real estate investment groups, Charlotte real estate investment groups, Ohio real estate investment groups. So those are a lot of the people that I'm following. Locally, there is a gentleman that I met along my career journey. He's a Black man who owns a weatherization company. His name is Rod Williams of Energy Savers, and he is definitely somebody who I very much value and look up to. He's built a real estate portfolio and investment portfolio where he can retire and he's able to live on his own terms. So that is definitely, something that I'm striving for. It's not about the money. It's just the ability to live life the way you want to. I'm following the 9 to 5 millionaire, Wall Street trapper. I love his story. He used to be an ex drug dealer and now he's trapping in the stock market. So I feel like he's relatable to a lot of people, and a lot of people can take that same principle of things that they've were criminal activities before and instead do something and make that same amount of money. So I'm inspired by those types of stories. I follow Vine magazine and Black Wall Street on Facebook. So, resources are unlimited. That's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah, you were getting into it. Any podcasts or blogs or YouTube channels?
I like 2 Black guys with good credit, and honestly, I follow Africatown and Black Dot and what you're doing. So super proud of everything that's happening here as well.
Man, well, we are inspired. We're glad to have you on. Chance, any final words to the people? What's your vision? Where are we gonna see you? Where will we see you in the future?
You could always go to my business. I'll always be there.
Okay. All right. We're going to check you in the chairman's seat, huh?
Absolutely.
In the CEO seat. All right, cool. Well, it's been a great session full of, jewels and I think valuable insights that people can really get busy applying to their own situation. So you want to let the people know where they can follow you and get in touch with you online.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Something Different Accounting on Facebook, accountingseattle.com. We offer, of course, my business is accounting and bookkeeping, but we also offer business consultation. And then we have started our own corporation, Chances Global Investments, Inc., to allow for anyone who's interested in any of our projects that we have up and coming. If they would like to allow us to invest on their behalf, we can do that for you through that organization. So thank you.
All right, excellent.
All right.
All right, so y'all know what it is. Right about this time, we got to give you the message of the day. Tap in, don't tap out. Peace.